Let's ask you to just write a short introduction for us. What do you think?
Go for it.
No, you go.
Welcome to Skids and Giggles, the podcast that combines our love for mountain biking and laughter. In today's episode, we'll be talking about the amazing ChatGPT AI and our recent mountain biking adventures in Switzerland. For those of you who don't know, ChatGPT is a large language model developed by OpenAI, based on the GPT 3.5 architecture. It's capable of answering a wide variety of questions and providing informative responses, and we'll be exploring some of its capabilities in today's episode. But first, let's talk about our recent trip to Switzerland, where we hit some of the best mountain bike trails in the world. We'll share our experiences, the challenges we face, and of course, the hilarious moments that made us skid and giggle on the trail. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride as we delve into the world of ChatGPT and mountain biking in Switzerland.
That is hilarious. And with that, we welcome the Skigglers to tonight's episode, where we sit down with myself, Pascal, and my co-host Bryson. How's it going
Howdy.
tonight?
Yeah, good. How are you doing?
Oh, splendid.
That's amazing.
We are also joined by ChatGPT, as we've mentioned in our generated introduction.
Good to be here. Thank you, Pascal and Bryson.
We also bought the language modulator plugin thingamabobber. That's the specific term. And it obviously modulates the language output as well.
So for those of you who didn't catch on, that wasn't me speaking, really. It was me speaking, but I was actually just reading a script created by ChatGPT. We just asked it to write a short intro for our show. And as you can see, we're going to tell you everything about our recent trip to Switzerland.
As if you haven't been here for a very long time. But anyway, talking about AI and GPT and all these things that are in the media at this stage, Bryson, do you have any experience with AI?
I'm proud to say, and proud to share it with you, Pascal. This is my very first experience with ChatGPT. And I mean, first-hand experience with AI, yeah.
Oh, okay. Wow. No, I mean, obviously, as a self-identified dork, I've been playing with it for some time. I have my own account, which we've been using for tonight's episode. We've pre-generated some talking points and some topics for tonight, and so yeah, I've been playing with it for some time, but also in my personal time, I've used several different AI implementations. Of course, AI always sounds very grand and complicated and much science, but at the end of the day, it can be something very, very simple. There's some training software that I use that uses a very basic implementation of AI, basically extrapolating from training data of all the users on the platform and predicting kind of your performance, your training, which kind of intervals you should be doing, etc. It's actually pretty neat, and I quite like it. It's called Trainer Road for anyone that wants to try it out. And at work, we've been using AI in one way or the other for quite some time. I think at this stage there is a lot that can be said about AI, and there's a lot of things that we don't want to be getting involved in, such as ethics and safety and morals of artificial intelligence and everything else that comes with it. But what we thought would be interesting is just to use ChatGPT. So what is ChatGPT? It's a generative artificial intelligence. So you can use it to have a conversation. You prompt it, it gives you an answer, it generates beautiful texts. There's been a number of media stories where people have used it for assignments in school. There's been a very high-profile article where ChatGPT managed to pass an MBA class at an American university with a B-. So it's quite a bit away from perfect, but it actually can do the tasks that you ask it if you ask it in the right way. And that's kind of the technology that we wanted to show today what it can actually do.
Pascal, what does the GPT stand for?
GPT stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer, which in very basic terms means it's a extremely large data dump that's been used to train the model. So a lot of data like text and all this, basically a download of a lot of internet sources. And the model has been trained on that to learn how to talk, basically, or to reply to prompts. And yeah, so it's been trained on a data set from September 21. It also admits to being a little bit outdated, but it keeps on learning and improving itself, as it said in one conversation I had with it. And we asked some of the things that we are interested in. And of course, it being artificial intelligence, we wondered if there's anything that it knows about mountain biking.
That's right. What does it know about mountain biking? Well, what Pascal did was he interfaced with the ChatGPT, and basically he just has a conversation with it. As the name suggests, he has a chat. And it's just a prompt where he just types in a question. It actually just asks you to send a message, but he just straight up asked them, is it difficult to get into mountain biking?
Yeah, and actually and that's what you'll find if you interact with the software for some time. It is a very aggressive on the fence sitter. So it's very balanced and it's responsive. Sometimes it gives you nicely enumerated responses, such as, here's a couple of things that I know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then gives an overall very balanced answer, and that's kind of very, very conclusive. But in others, it can be much more prosaic. But yeah, we will put all the different prompts that we used for this recording into the show notes, so you can try that out with your own account. But I used a simple prompt, as Bryson mentioned. Is it difficult to get into mountain biking? And Bryson, what are kind of some of the highlights of the responses that you can pick out?
Oh, is it difficult? I mean, the answer is yeah. Okay, so here's the thing is, you can ask a seasoned mountain biker, is it difficult to get mountain biking? And you'll get a variety of responses, and it's all subjective. But when you ask ChatGPT, like you said, it gives you a summary of these things, and it's like you can't deny it. You're just like, yeah, I mean, that's right. I don't know how else to, we sat down a little bit earlier and we're thinking like, oh, how do we go about this? Oh, like let's contest everything it says, and it's kind of like, yeah, you would almost be wrong if you did so. So, I mean, okay, for me, it gave us a list. I'm just going to quickly look at it. And number 1, it says, start with the basics. And I mean, that's exactly what I would tell people. It's like, just get on the bike, get a feeling for it, try to do some things and have fun. Because what you want to do is, and this is the advice I've already given out to people who are starting out, is like, you want to get comfortable with the way the bike reacts, the way you move on the bike, sitting on the bike for longer periods of time. And like, I mean, these are the basics. Basically, it's how to get into mountain biking. Well, first off, get used to riding a bicycle.
Yeah, and I mean, the rest is also kind of run-of-the-mill tips, really. So I guess you can find that on any YouTube video and or anything else, which is obviously a reflection of how it's been trained. So the second recommendation it gives you is invest in the right equipment. Having the right bike and gear can make a big difference. Duh. Of course it does, right? If you're, I'm 6'2", 186. So if I ride an extra small bike, that's probably not going to be the right thing. So I should probably invest into the right size bike.
The thing is, for these tips, actually, like let's say we were complete beginners and we had never mountain biked before, these would be great tips. And they were like summarized and concise.
Absolutely. Build up gradually. What do you mean? I don't start with black trails on a downhill bike, super steep, gnarly trails. What? And I think I love the fourth one, find a supportive community.
Love it.
Overall, it concludes, as I mentioned, while there may be a learning curve, with practice and persistence, you can become a competent and confident mountain biker.
Quite the optimist as well.
Okay, so now we defined or found out if it's difficult to get into mountain biking, and of course, the next question really is what are the best places to get into mountain biking? And guess what? Also for this, it has a great answer. What are your highlights, Bryson?
So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to approach it like I did last time. If someone were to ask me what are the best places to get in mountain biking, I would say go to the most convenient place that's sort of like a woods or like a hillside that allows you to conveniently and without too much like overexertion. I mean, in all areas, get out there and just enjoy some aspects. Because what you're going to do is you're going to end up finding out that, I mean, most people, it turns out to be is you start like, oh, I really like that aspect, and then like that, and then you discover another one. You're like, oh, I like that aspect too, and then all of a sudden it kind of just, it's like a tsunami, just start washing over everything. So let's go. Number one, it says local parks and trails. There, I said it. So many cities and towns have local parks and trails that are suitable for beginners and intermediate riders. These trails often have smooth terrain and gentle slopes, making them a good place to build up your skills and confidence. Yeah, skills parks, parks near your house. You find all this stuff like sticks to ride over. Perfect.
There you go. And then it continues, steady progression, mountain bike parks. We live in Switzerland.
Perfect place.
We have access to some nice mountain bike parks. National parks and forests. No-brainer. Ski resorts, if you're close to one. And then the final one, guided tours and camps.
Yeah, I mean, it's concise. I could not give such good answers. I mean, if this was a test and I had to answer these 5 things, I would fail.
You'd probably have 1 or 2.
Yeah, I mean, sure, I'd come close, but overall, like with all the questions that we asked it,
yeah, absolutely.
I'm not up there. It's like a instant professional.
Absolutely,
I can see how I can get a B-.
The funny thing, and coming back to the very balanced answers it tends to give, it also concludes this one with: remember, safety should always be a top priority when mountain biking. Be sure to wear appropriate protective gear, know your limits, and ride within your ability level.
Safety third. At first.
Exactly.
But you mentioned Switzerland, so what does it know about Switzerland and mountain biking?
I know. That was the natural progression of our story arch for tonight. And of course, we had to ask what ChatGPT knows about Switzerland and mountain biking. And I asked it straight up, is Switzerland good for mountain biking? And of course, it's not very surprising that the system comes back with an answer and it says, yes, Switzerland is a great destination for mountain biking. With its beautiful mountain scenery, well-maintained trails, and a variety of terrain options, Switzerland offers something for every level of mountain biker. And I guess there's really not much more I need to say. I mean, we do have some very scenic trails. It obviously enumerates a number of other reasons, but we do have very scenic trails. It also mentions our well-marked and maintained trails. Mm-hmm. We also have a lot of lift access trails. We have bike-friendly culture, tend to agree, and we have great infrastructure for mountain biking.
Yeah, infrastructure is the one I would definitely highlight.
Absolutely, and I think infrastructure is here meant in the wider sense. It says specifically, Switzerland has a well-developed infrastructure for mountain biking, including bike rental shops, repair shops, and tour operators. This makes it easy for visitors to find the equipment they need and plan a trip. I think we should add to that in terms of infrastructure, because what most people forget, certainly coming from overseas actually, is that you also need to get to the trails, and that in Switzerland we have a very well-developed public transport system, so you don't necessarily need to have a car. I need to, clean up in my own garden, as we like to say in German, but I usually tend to drive my car, but you don't have to. You can take a train. You can actually access trails with the train in some areas, and yeah, it's generally very easy. There's specific areas in the trains where you can load up your bikes, and jump on a train in Zurich. You're in the mountains within an hour and a half, and out on the trails.
Yeah, but AI can't mountain bike, right?
Of course not. And I had of course the urge to ask it about if it wants to go mountain biking, or if it wants to do what it feels about mountain biking. And of course, it's being very diplomatic, and it's a boilerplate answer to anything about feelings or thinking, or let's say more intelligent or emotional answers. It just gives an answer that says, as an AI language model, I don't have emotions or feelings, so I can't enjoy anything in the way that humans do. AI is a machine that is programmed to perform specific tasks and can only enjoy, in air quotes, something insofar as it is designed to do so. And I guess that's also where we stand currently with artificial intelligence. It's incredibly good at doing what it's designed to do, but it's still the principles of a computer, of being only as smart as the person that sits in front of it or directs it. To some extent, they still apply.
So, for those of you listening who are thinking, oh, I heard of AI, I read a headline, it's going to take over jobs. Well, listen to this. It says, ultimately, it's unlikely that AI will ever experience enjoyment or pleasure in the way that humans do, as these are complex emotions that require a subjective experience of the world. While AI can simulate certain aspects of human emotion, it is fundamentally different from human consciousness and experience. And while there are some specific tasks that, yeah, you can just set to like auto generate or whatever with computers, there's a definitive amount of things that humans must do. So, I mean, when you hear that headline, I think maybe take it with a grain of salt.
Oh, absolutely. However, that does not mean that AI cannot be used in mountain biking or to make mountain biking better.
Definitely.
So, of course, my next question, or the next prompt that I used, was, how would you optimize a mountain bike ride through AI specifically? And it gives a nice enumerated list, and it is there's very wide ranging applications of artificial intelligence in mountain biking, even beyond just riding a bike. And the top applications it mentions is route planning. I guess we've all used Trailforks or Strava. We've used the global heat maps in all the different variations. Komoot is another good example. It also mentions adjusting your equipment, and I think that is an area I'm really kind of interested in. There's a lot of cool technology coming out in a number of areas. So I guess what most people have in mind is the telemetry systems that are currently out and being used on the different racing circuits. But I'm also thinking of medical technology that is coming out. I just today looked up the HIT device. Is a helmet accessory, basically, that you stick on your helmet, and that measures G forces. I have no relation to this company. I just looked at it today. And it measures G forces and gives you recommendations in terms of head injuries, trauma, etc. So it gives you clear indications if you hit your head too much in a crash, for example, if you should consult medical attention, or if you should do some rest, or if you're fine to ride the next day. So stuff like that is where AI also has quite a few applications, I think.
Mm-hmm.
What other takes would you have on how AI can make mountain biking better, Bryson?
My favorite one from this list is take breaks as needed. I find, yeah, that applies to mountain biking, but actually it applies to life in general. I think sometimes people can, it's just generally speaking, you can get worked up about things. You can get kind of burnt out on doing specific things repetitively. You can be too focused on some things too often, and just straight up take breaks as needed. Rest and hydrate as needed during your ride to avoid fatigue and injury. It's just that taking that break is going to allow you to endure a little bit more for a little bit longer. And I mean, that's kind of like the human experience. Is we are here to experience things and to kind of make mistakes and learn and laugh and love and blah blah blah. And AI recognizes that allowing us to take a break is allowing us to do a little bit more, to be a little bit more human. I love that one.
Absolutely. But, that there's, certainly more experienced riders, they're used to listening to their body, having the experience, and then they take breaks when they feel or know that they need it. But I think, yes, of course, there's always the element where people say like, oh, well, you can just go by experience and you can feel it when you get tired and all that sort of stuff. But certainly if you're a beginner, you're overwhelmed by everything, by the experience, by all these new people, new challenges, new everything, then it actually can be quite helpful, I believe, if you have, I don't know, some kind of health strap or another sensor of some sort that predictively tells you, hang on, Bryson, you're starting to cramp, and it's probably time to have a drink and a stretch and a lie down, or something like that. So I think, yeah. So I mean, there's both the human element of like, yes, you need to do this, and you can feel it yourself generally, but these tools can also be quite helpful to help you along that path to finding out yourself what you need. And yeah, and there's a lot of these devices at the moment.
I think this device would probably just be pre-programmed to let me know about the cramp. And it would be successful.
Yeah, it's called the Captain Hindsight device, and it tells you once you're already on the floor crying.
Just taking a break.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I mean, as there's many more questions that we can ask, and of course, this is a bit of the meta section of this conversation. But we did ask one more a bit meta question, and because we try to double check the responses and double check the prompts, and actually we found out that depending on the time of the day and what you've asked before, etc., you get slightly different answers. So we used the same prompt that I used yesterday again, and asked what's the best use of AI in mountain biking, and it was a very insightful response the second time around, much more prosaic. And Bryson, what were the highlights of that compared to what we just discussed before?
If you wouldn't mind, I want to read that verbatim.
Sure, go ahead.
There are several potential uses for AI in mountain biking that could enhance the experience for riders. One such use could be in the development of smart bike technology that uses AI algorithms to optimize the performance of the bike based on the rider's preferences and riding style. For example, AI could be used to adjust suspension settings on the fly based on terrain and rider feedback, or to optimize power output and pedal assistance on electric bikes. This could help riders to achieve better performance and comfort on the trails, and to make mountain biking more accessible to a wider range of people. This is going to be a pretty good technology. I mean, yeah. Okay, yeah, here we go again. Another potential use of AI in mountain biking could be in the development of virtual training and simulation platforms. Actually, you mentioned that this is happening already, right?
All right,
Trainer
yeah.
Road.
You have to again, put yourself back in the context of the data that was used to train the model, and that was September 21.
It is a machine after all.
Yeah.
AI could be used to create realistic simulations of different trails and conditions, allowing riders to train and practice in a safe and controlled environment. Now, that wouldn't be fun at all. This could be particularly useful for riders who live in areas without access to suitable trails, or who want to practice specific skills or techniques.
Fully
So it's
agree.
kind of like a technical indoor trainer type of thing. But think of it with like moving parts and like rocks being thrown at you, dust, like spraying water, and then a skid simulator. But more on that later. Overall, the best use of AI in mountain biking is likely to be one that enhances the experience for riders and helps to make the sport more accessible and enjoyable for everyone. So it's like a mountain bike utopia described, at least for training and technique analysis. But to implement all of that, I would like AI to jump in there. So that's maybe another show, or maybe the next version of ChatGPT.
Absolutely. Well, we
Yeah.
need. There's always, if you can't solve the problem with the tools that you have today, you need to improve your technology, and then hopefully the better technology can get you a step closer to solving the problems of tomorrow.
Well said.
With those more meta kind of prompts, we wanted to just to showcase a little bit what the model thinks and puts out as recommendations as to how to use the model itself or the technology itself to improve the mountain biking experience for everyone. Of course, we wouldn't be the Skids and Giggles podcast by also using our now notorious closeout questions with the Chat GPT. So of course I had to ask it, or prompt it as they call it. The famous Harry Skidini bike magician extraordinaire. In a simpler prompt, I asked it, how can you make mountain biking more awesome for anyone? And it actually came up again with a fantastic list. And I think the first one, or no, actually the first two are probably my favorites. First one is explore new trails. We just last weekend we rode with a fellow friend, a former guest of the podcast, Stefan Lorenz, Felix Lutin, the guy from Broadlo's Design, the guy from the European Bike Project. All we met up in Schöftland, went for a ride, had some nice pizza, chat, bike talk. It was a great day. We rode a new trail that I've never ridden before, and we rode with new friends. So I guess that was a really, really cool day, and I guess that made mountain biking more awesome for me on Sunday.
Definitely did. Great shout out too. Like, that was really cool. And finally we got to see each other again, like in person.
Absolutely.
Amazing. So you hit number 1, explore new trails. Number 2, ride with friends. Oh, I got number 3, try out new gear. Cause Stefan, he's doing the pyrope thing, distribution, and he's like, "Hey, have you ever tried those wheels?" And I was like, "No, what's that all about?" And he's like, "Okay, I throw it on your bike." And here's what happened. I brought my trail bike. So everyone else is on except for you, they're all on enduro bikes. You're on your enduro hardtail, and I'm on my trail bike. So it's it's a little more timid, let's say, in terms of like an aggressive approach. But once you put those wide wheels and those massive grippy tires on it, I was like, let's slay. Let's take this trail on, right? So try out new gear. Had fun with that. Take a skills class. I haven't done that in a while.
Oh, I actually signed up for 2 in the next couple of months. So
okay,
really looking forward to that. I think it's always good to ride with different people, with people that have different perspectives on the sport, on riding. So I signed up for skills coaching with 2 separate and completely different styles of coaches, and yeah, I'm really curious to find out what they think of my riding and what I can improve.
Also, the next time I see you, you'll have the textbook style.
Maybe. What else does it say? Oh, it comes up with incorporate other activities. Okay. Why not?
That's a good one.
Mountain biking with yoga. We heard that before.
Yeah.
Friends from the Bike Boutique. She does mountain biking and yoga retreats.
Mm-hmm.
Also comes up with trail running and rock climbing. I mean, those things, they go almost hand in hand. So definitely agree with that.
These were my off the bike activities at one point or another. Very recently, it was trail running and rock climbing. And then previously, back in Vancouver, I would do a lot of yoga. I just find that it's true. Incorporating other activities is going to help you into a more like rounded package in terms of like flexibility, strengths. My favorite one, connect with the community. So I'm a big proponent of community rides, group rides, clubs. So that's really cool that it was able to recognize that is one of the things that makes mountain biking awesome.
Fully agree, 100%. Again, community is a large driver of why we do the Skids and Giggles podcast. It's always great to meet guests, to meet listeners, reach out, be in contact, be in conversation with everyone, to have a chat about the things that we love, and try to move forward as a community. And I think that's what we're here to do. And I love it that the computer even says that we're onto something good here.
Yeah, I mean, it just sounds like it's modeling its answers after what we're doing. So
Maybe it's been reading us all along.
hang on a second. Are we intelligent?
Maybe we are in the machine. Are we in the machine? Well, finally, I guess the pièce de résistance for most of our guests is the great question that Bryson usually gets to ask. And why don't you take this one away, Bryson?
I'd be delighted. So, Mr. Omniscient, oh great Chat GPT, what makes a great skid? Now, I was so amazed by this answer, I need to read it out verbatim. I'm sorry, I'm just not original like this. He says, or she, or it.
It's a it.
Okay, so Chat says, hey Chad, what do you think about a skid? Chat says, a skid is a technique used in mountain biking to control speed and drift around corners. While skidding can be a useful skill to have in certain situations, such as loose or steep terrain, it's important to note that excessive skidding can damage trails and harm the environment. Very true, and it's been said before. That being said, if you are looking to execute a great skid, here are some tips. 1. Positioning. Before starting a skid, make sure you're in the right position on your bike. Shift your weight back and low and bend your elbows and knees slightly. Keep your eyes looking ahead to anticipate the upcoming turn. Insightful, right?
Oh, it's picture perfect.
Getting shivers here. Okay, number 2, braking. To initiate the skid, apply your rear brake while leaning your bike into the turn. This will cause your back wheel to slide out slightly.
Depending.
It's starting. Number 3, release. As you approach the exit of the turn, release your brake and smoothly straighten your bike. I'm starting to sound like an infomercial. Love this. Number 4, practice. Skidding can be tricky to master, so it's important to practice in a safe and controlled environment before attempting it on trails. I think it has. I think it has succeeded in telling us what a great skid is. It lacks a little bit of it lacks any of the creativity,
any of the looseness
that we get from normal guests. But I mean, it's correct. And you know what? Actually, if
technically on point.
And let's say this. Let's say we were to approach a beginning mountain biker, and he would come to us and be like, I don't know, guys. I don't want to come on the podcast because I'm anxious. I don't know anything about skidding, and I'm just getting into mountain biking. What do I need? It's like, hey, you know what? You can read the correspondence of our Chat GPT. You can follow the tips it provides, and then you're going to be ready to come on our podcast. So the end of this says, remember that skidding should only be used when necessary and in a reasonable manner. Excessive skidding can damage trails, create unnecessary erosion, and harm the environment. Always ride with respect for the environment and other riders. Well said. Well responded. What a powerful tool, Pascal.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure there's many more things we could be asking. And we are actually pretty curious. What would you guys ask ChatGPT about mountain biking, about your bike, about learning new things, about everything? So let us know in the comments. There's a new function on Spotify where you can send replies right after the episode. Just to scroll down in the episode screen. There's now a Q&A box. You can just put your questions and comments in there, and we can reply to those at the later stage. You can also send us messages on our usual channels, Instagram, email through our website, all these kind of things. And with that, I guess we want to close out the show for tonight. What do you think, Bryson?
I mean, should you ask me or should you ask ChatGPT?
I think we used up all the bandwidth of ChatGPT for tonight. So I'm going to just say the things that I usually say at this stage, and that's mentioning our website where you can find all the links and info for this episode and all the other episodes that we've put out. We are currently most active on our Instagram, where you can skid right into our DMs and follow along at Skids and Giggles. If you guys like what we're doing and want to know what's up, then just give us a follow on Spotify, hit subscribe on Apple Podcasts or wherever else you listen to great podcasts. Finally, last thing to say, sharing our episodes on your socials or a heartfelt 5-star rating on your favorite platform goes a long way in helping us reach more people like you. On Spotify, actually, you can do that with a simple tap on a 5-star and it's all done. You don't even need to write anything. Right on. With that, we close it out for the night. We'll talk to you the next time.
Have a good one, guys.
Thanks for listening. We really hope you enjoyed this episode.
Pascal and I put a lot of heart and soul into this podcast, and it means a lot to us that you've listened to it. We'd also really appreciate if you shared it with the people that you know and care about. Until next time, Skigglers.